much more ephemeral, but equally real. They come into being and then they disappear. So we return to the simplicity of breathing in and breathing out. Please notice if there's any flavor of striving. Are you holding any muscles tight? The gut, the forehead, the teeth, the jaw. Are you trying to do something? To get somewhere? Get rid of this damn wandering mind? Instead of that, just rest back in the present moment. You are naturally awakeness, that which knows. And with this knowing, know that the breath begins. It expands to fullness, and then it declines. And when the mind begins to rest for longer periods of time with the breath, the sensations of breathing, you can notice that even the idea of there being a breath is just that. Because the experience at the moment of starting the breath is over during the rising, and then by the time we get to the change of direction, breathing out, the beginning of the breath is sort of ancient history. It's gone. And then when the breath ends, both the beginning and middle and everything between is gone. So we are watching, observing, feeling, knowing the utter impermanence of everything. during one of the three wandering minds I experienced during that time. In fact, there were two people over there, your mind was wandering, one over there, and there was one in the loft. So raise your hands and confess. During one of the wandering minds of this mind, this poem by Jack Mccarthy came to mind. When you were talking about the straitjacket, I had a flash. I was in one, and a great magician, Houdini maybe, or maybe God, disguised as Houdini, was about to teach me to escape. I knew with utter certainty that his first word would be, relax. When you were talking about the straitjacket, I had a flash. I was in one, and a great magician, Houdini maybe, or maybe God, disguised as Houdini, was about to teach me to escape. I knew with utter certainty that his first word would be, relax. From this point, 40 some years into doing this practice, it's clearest to me that the foundation of this entire practice is to relax. There's effort that we make and there are strategies that we do, but ultimately it's just to soften and soften and soften and realize that we're everything. And it's not through, I'm going to do it, it's through relinquishing. It's all about relinquishing. Hi. Well, Jim, would you like to do a little dancing? We're going to, anybody here for the first time today? Great. Hi, welcome. Jim's going to do some mindful movement. For those of you that are new, this is actually Li Po Hui from somewhere in China. He poses, he takes over Jim's body to teach this. Then Avi will have some announcements, and then I will come back and we'll have a Dharma talk. And then there's coffee and tea and refreshments after that. Yeah, so, Jim.
All right. Am I on? Yes, I'm on. Okay. So Houdini said, relax. My first Tai Chi instructor stood like this, and he said, lift, come over the waterfall, and relax. So if you lift with me, imagining energy flowing up from the earth, and like a waterfall coming over the rounded edges of the rocks, and then all this energy is flowing into our legs. So how relaxed can we be in the shoulders, in the elbows, in the wrists? The hands, the fingers are separate, but they're not stretched apart. They're not stressing. But they can each finger can feel as it moves through the air. So after a little bit, my teacher said, now you know lifting water. So let's do that. Lifting water. Then I read this book in the last couple months from the Harvard Medical School. And they said, the first thing you have to learn is the circular modality. And they were doing this. Circular modality. Now that's a scientific term for, isn't it much easier to feel the waterfall? Lifting, opening, coming back, and sinking. So as we lift and open, we have new sensations in the front of the rib cage, in the back, and along the spine. We're not just lifting, but we're stretching a little bit out to the side as efficiently as possible. Not a lot of effort, but just opening the joints in the rib cage and the shoulders and the spine, back to the shoulder blades. You can feel them moving. And then overhead, paint a rainbow and feel the hips shift the weight. Again, it's a stress-free exertion. There is some sort of intention and some sort of energy exchange from one leg to the other. But whatever can be relaxed is relaxed. Then reach up and separate the hands, separate the clouds above. Cross the wrists, feel that sensation in the back and the front, and then opening is the opposite movement, crossing and opening. So many muscles cooperate, ligaments, tendons, in order to do this simple separating the clouds. Then we get a little more complex. Open to the side with our palms up. We press with one hand, pull in with the other. As soft as we can make it. No hurry. We get to the end of the gesture and the wrists turn. One hand is facing forward, one palm is facing up. And then we lower the arms and pull them back gently, always relaxing. But there's a sense of agency as we lift and turn. We have an intention to open the shoulder sockets. And then it flows. Once we set the intention, we'll come across and lift. We know where we're going, and then we turn around and come back. Effortless movement. Softening the shoulder, softening the wrists. And then turning, gazing at the moon, a little more complicated. So how can we simplify it? How can we smooth it out? Releasing tension. pressing across. Just doing what the arm does, what comes natural when we reach to pick something up off the shelf over here. And the attention just stays steady on sensations in the body. And cloud hands, and again, human mind is always making things complicated. But we've got one palm facing in, one palm facing down. Once we get the hang of it, it doesn't take a lot of effort to maintain it. Release one position, create the other. And the fingers continue to move through the air, so there's sensations down in that little valley between fingers. All the cells of the hand are exposed to the air, and they respond. Okay, then we'll step forward and transfer the weight forward, splash in the sea, rock back, transfer the weight back. So the right toe, or my right toe, I don't know, maybe it's your left. One set of toes is holding us down, up from falling down, and the same set rises, and then we ride the waves. The street side toes. Opening the arms, palms up. And then back to the center, stepping out to the other side. Just noticing where the body's still tight, what can be relaxed in this flow. A little less effort. Riding the waves. The ears don't work to listen. They just relax into the reception of the sound. And back to the center. Pausing, feeling the breath, feeling where in the body you can feel the pulse. When we just open the attention, we can notice what's the most predominant sensation in the body. And then squeezing one hand, making a fist, and sinking, relaxing the fist, just soft fist up. The dragon arises from the sea. And then opening the arms like we're flying with the cranes, up on the toes. Again, that sense of agency. We get image in our mind, and then the body manifests it. Turn the wheel. Change direction. And back to the center. Feeling the stability and the balance. We shift to one leg and lift the other. Lifting the opposite hand. Bouncing a ball. Playing with a marionette. Some sort of image that gets the body moving across the center line. And then the easy breath. Sharing it with everyone else in the room. Relaxing the arms and noticing what's not relaxed now. Very little. There's a lot of letting go. So all day long, this body is letting go into the rhythm of the breath, into the rhythm of the heart, pumping vital energy through the blood circulation system. There's natural rhythms unfolding all day long. And every once in a while, if we stop, take 3 breaths, just feeling gratitude to this breath that's been here since we took our first breath, and all the systems that are built on that. Thankful that they're continuing to support life as we know it. It's the same thing, but it's totally unique. Same thing across the room, and it's totally unique to each individual. So let's sink once more and open to the side, making our roundup for this session. Feeling gratitude to everyone who's joined with us. Wondering who's going to see this on the internet. Hopefully they found some relaxation through it too. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Sangha. And good morning out there in internet land. In case you're a newbie here, my name is Avi. I'm coordinator here. A couple of things come to mind before I get to the reading of the announcements. Recently, I have met some people who actually watch the live stream. So, and that made it real for me. Even though, I know Robert, I've heard Robert talk about that there are dozens, maybe even more than 100 or so people that watch on the internet. So to you folks out on the internet, I just want to say that I really appreciate the fact that you're watching. And if you want to connect with us, rather than just waiting for the live stream every Sunday, send me a meme or a thumbs up or an emoticon or whatever. Or even better yet, we have this thing that we call PIMC Connections that is our community forum. It's a Google group. You get into it, and you get to pretty much share whatever is on your mind, because everything is on the Dharma path. So if you have any questions, if you want to join and you have any questions about how to do that, please let me know. The instructions are on the homepage of the website. And I would share that with all of you too, that if any of you want more PIMC during the week and you don't want to have to wait until Sundays, please join us on Connections. And if you're looking for a babysitter, post that. If you have something that's coming up about your practice, share that. I think you would find a community of people that would be interested in having a conversation back and forth. The other thing is, I turned 61 this week. And I say this because I am going to be away for the next 2 weekends, so we won't have a chance to talk about this. I'm going to be up in Seattle at a workshop about touch, which is a big interest of mine. And then the following weekend, I'm going to be at the Intersangha conference. And apparently, as I am learning, Insight Meditation Centers have this, I guess, party that happens, or gathering, where I think they do official stuff every year, and I'm going to be there. And it occurred to me that it's been a year that I've been here. Thank you, yes. As my pagany friends say, huzzah, it's great. And you know, my time here kind of closely overlaps with my birthday, because my birthday is on the 27th, and I started working here around the middle of the month in March of 2017. And it just has given me cause to think about the fact that at 61, I find that I am the happiest I have ever been. And that is very encouraging to me, especially working on my own spiritual practice for the last 5 or 6 years. And part of that is feeling like I am more myself and more in the place that I am supposed to be than I have ever been. And a large part of that is the fact that I am here with all of you. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve this community, which I find very nourishing and is a very important part of my life now. So thank you to all of you. Announcements. Enough with the mushy stuff. So, this upcoming week on the 25th, Robert is starting his 8-week class, Embracing the Wounded Self, information on the website. Then on Saturday the 28th, we have our annual Karma Yoga Volunteer Day. It is basically a time to socialize, be relaxed, and while we're socializing, get some things done that help keep this place being homey and welcoming and functional. And there will be pizza, I promise. On Sunday, May 5th, we have, on Sunday, May 6th, we have our first Sunday PMC orientation with Robert. If you know people who've been wanting to come here and they've been waiting for the orientation to ask questions and find out more, that would be the time to do it. Then on Saturday, what's that? Oh, the orientation is always at 9 o'clock, and that goes for an hour, and then everyone in the orientation comes in here and we all do the group meditation. Thank you for reminding me about that. Then on Saturday, May 12th, we have a visiting teacher, Jason Siff, doing his recollective awareness meditation workshop. On Sunday the 13th, the very next day, we have our second Sunday PIMC potluck. That's May 13th. Then on Saturday, May 19th, Jim is doing another one of his Qigong half-day retreats here at PIMC, 10 a.m. to 2. If you liked what we were doing just a few minutes ago, then you can get 4 hours of it. And there is information on the website. Then I would say on June 2nd, for any of you who volunteer, there is going to be a volunteer retreat just for volunteers with Robert on Saturday, June 2nd. Save the date. There will be information showing up soon on the website. On Sunday, June 3rd, there is the Portland Buddhist Festival in the park, 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., which kind of overlaps with what we're doing, but we are going to have a presence there because it's really neat to be a part of the larger Buddhist community. If any of you would like to help staff a table there, please let me know. And then finally, in terms of things that are on the schedule, Sunday, July 8th through July 20th is the Mountain Waters Retreat with Robert. And then just a few other miscellanea. Please join us for hospitality at the end of all of this. Meet your fellow Sangha members, have some coffee and some tea and some snacks. If you want to engage with this community at a deeper level, we can always use volunteers. It's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to get more solid with this community and feel more a part of it. Is Kirsten around? Kirsten is our volunteer coordinator. Feel free to contact me. Kirsten's information is also on the website. The URL for the website? All right, so the URL for the website, if no one knows, is portlandinsight.org, all one word. And speaking of the volunteer day, if any of you have flattened cardboard boxes, we could use a bunch of them. Just bring them by and sort of put them inside the gated enclosure, and we'll store them because Sarah Hamilton is leading an effort to do some stuff with the landscaping, and we need some cardboard for that. I should mention that there are 6 weekly sits that we do every week. If you want to find out more about those, go to the website. We have spiritual friends groups that allow you to engage with people in your community and practice more on your own schedule. If you want to join one of those, information is on the website. If you'd like to start one, please contact me and we can work it out. We have our transition projects donations right here. Anything that you have that you don't need, please bring it here. We'll get it down to the Transitions Homeless Project. It helps homeless people get a fresh start with their lives. We also do something called Dharma Consults, which are for people who have a practice. If something comes up in your practice, you can talk with a teacher for 30 minutes and sort of get a sense of what's going on with an experienced practitioner. And if there are those of you who want to start a practice and you don't want to wait for one of our full-blown classes, a teacher can help you with that too as part of a Dharma Consult. If you want to do that, especially you folks out there in internet land, because we can do this either by phone or by Skype or in person, please contact me and I can help you arrange it. And then if you have any questions about anything to do with this place, if there's any way that I can help you engage with this community and get more out of it, then please contact me. My email address and phone number are on the website. Have a blessed day to you all. Yo.
Let people know if they have questions about what to donate to Transition Project, they can see me.
Yes. So, Michael, could you raise your hand? So, if you have questions about Transition Project, about what to donate, please contact Michael. Isn't there like an info sheet in the trunk? Is there? Maybe I should get one in there. We can work that out so that people know. Okay. All right. Yes. No Dharma Consults on Sundays. We'll arrange them by appointment. Okay.
So this is what it looks like in Thailand and Burma. When the sun comes up, there are monks that walk through town barefoot, like this. And there are families, sometimes with little kids, and they're waiting with food, and the monk pauses, and they put food in the bowl, and then the monk goes on. There's no conversation. One of the more difficult things of that role is when it's a little child with really snotty nose and they've given them something nice to put in their bowl and they put it in your bowl and you think, I'm going to keep track of where that one was. But what they're doing is training the children from birth that generosity is really crucial to spiritual life. So this bowl, this lives back there, and it receives your green and your papers, and it's, what have I done? Have I got it inside? Wrong. So this is by way of inviting you to participate in the financial life of PIMC, which you can do here, which you can do online, and which is very central to... would someone take this back after? You don't need to do it right now. Oh. All right. Thanks, Allison. Because we live in this world where there's expenses. And it's a wonderful way of voting with your finances, which we do all the time. All these years I've had a microphone that allows me to walk, but I haven't done any walking. I've sat stuck there as though I was rooted, so I'm going to walk a little bit today. It makes me think of an image which is, can I do this? I don't know. I was waking up this morning and I heard the Buddha say, "Robert, bring the truth to the people." So I can't hold it. I can't hold that together. Woo! I do. I was watching over the net while you were doing your announcements. How beautiful a year! That's incredible. Time flies, huh? And I wanted to maybe that, and also that it's Allison's birthday. I found out just a few moments ago when I got here. I'd like to do something that Ruth Denison would do at such a moment, and that involves asking you all to stand. And would you come up this way, please? And would you come up this way?
Experiment in terror.
An experiment in terror. Oh, this is really scary. This is very scary. There's a song that Ruth sang here, and she sang it for a long time, as she always did. It goes like this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. Join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. Happy birthday to you. Mindfully. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. Turn to a partner. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. And if you have it in you, to another partner. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. Two more. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. Every day we are free. All right. Happy birthday. wanted to add a little bit to Avi's nice invitation to my class. Have you noticed how remarkably messy life is? And how hard? I mean, when does it get simple, straightforward, orderly, emotionally balanced? When do the people with whom we're in relationship become all of those things? When do we? When do our children find a nice, stable place to be and a good job and a partner, and then it all works from then on? When is it not always falling apart? And it does seem to be always falling apart, doesn't it? Some of you may have noticed this, that if you're in relationship and you start to meditate, it changes your relationship. Meditation destabilizes relationships. If one person is doing it, then one person changes. Actually, I was friends with the people who, a long time ago, they were part of a group of people that founded the California Institute of Transpersonal Psychology. And people came from all over the country to participate in this. It was a really good program, grounded in Western psychology, but also with lots of meditation and spiritual practice and psychotherapy. And they had an incredibly high rate of divorces, which was problematic for them. It was after like 3 years, I think, they started thinking, this is really a problem. So they made the application process. It included, if the person was in a relationship, that the application process had to include the spouse, and the spouse had to be willing to participate in certain activities because they didn't want to make it so awful for people. So meditation reveals how things are and how we are and how unfinished we are. And so this is kind of picking up on what I was saying earlier during the meditation. If our view is that I'm going to meditate and get my mind under control and get concentrated and be in bliss, then we don't persist in meditation for very long. But then when we realize, what I'm going to do is I start revealing more and more and more of what it is to be a human being, which will include bliss, delight, transcendent experiences, more compassion than ever before, more love than ever before. It will also reveal fear, loneliness, jealousy, despair, depression, addiction, and the dark side of our being. And it's the fact that we, as John Kabat-Zinn used the term, a full catastrophe. We wake up to the full catastrophe. Actually, there's that quote. I mean, that comes from, how many of you, well, it doesn't matter. How many of you seen Zorba the Greek? A few. Amazing movie. There's an Englishman and Zorba, who's this wild Greek guy. And the Englishman asks Zorba at one point, Zorba, have you ever been married? And Zorba says, yeah, wife, house, kids, the whole catastrophe. A worthy movie. So, we're going to be reading the book by Jack Kornfield, After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. And there's a really beautiful, it's a great book. showing that as we open into all of who we are. And I think it's in the foreword. The whole book is sort of not summarized, but you can see the paradigm of it. There's a story of a fellow who goes, he's a Zen practitioner, and he goes on a long retreat, a long sesshin, and he has a transcendent experience. He opens, and he realizes he's one with the universe for a long time, not a momentary flash like lots of people get, but for days or weeks. It's like a big opening. And then he went home, and his marriage blew up, and he became depressed and suicidal. And how do those fit together? Because you'd think, well, he had this opening, and then therefore the right president was elected, and then everyone will live happily ever after. It doesn't always go that way. It opens up to, oh, here's another side. And that's the truth of spiritual practice and life. And it's learning to accept life on its own terms. So I invite you to participate in that. It starts next Wednesday. There's registration on the web, www.portlandinsight.org. We should have that here. Speaking of which, while I think of it, banners. We have banners for we have really nice banners for the Buddhist day in the park. Okay. I'm going to pass this around. When this comes to you, it's not fully open. It's a little disappointing because it's not fully open yet, but there's enough. I invite you to notice that there's only scent on the in-breath. It was quite a mind-blower when I first discovered that on a retreat, that scent is dependent upon little particles or chemicals crossing the membranes. Similarly, when you're eating, there's really only flavor on the out-breath through the nose, because the tongue doesn't have that much. But the aroma is what's important, and it's on the out-breath. But see what happens when this comes to you. You sniff it. Oops. When you take another one, we'll have Flower City this morning. This is a gorgeous. Oh, look at this. Ta-da! It's. What do you see here? I'll bet most of us would say, I see a flower. I see a ripe tulip. I see a red flower. I see. Is that really what is seen? If you go back to bare attention before perception, there's a color. Do you see red? You see a color. You see there's a certain frequencies of light. And then because of your training, because of your, the parents, that's red, honey. I'm getting to watch my grandson be conditioned by his parents into what's real. And they have to, of course. But I just tried to fix this. A little dissatisfied with it. There, better. Sheesh. Do it this way, honey. Always use your fork. There. Red. If you were French, you would say rouge. Love? Oh, love. This is love. Right. So those are perceptions. And these are perceptions that we impose upon reality. So we learn to see phenomena through filters. And we do that all the time in every perception. So it's one of the, let's pass this around too. It's absolutely gorgeous to look up close. One of the central threads of insight meditation practice, Satipatthana Vipassana, is that we practice coming to what's called bare attention, to seeing, to experiencing before perception, before the way this perception is being defined, before turning it into something. So, since we were practicing with the breath this morning, maybe let your eyes close. Let's try a little experiment with that. So you could breathe and have a thought about breathing. I am breathing in, I am breathing out. This is my breath. Or perhaps you could come closer to bare attention and simply notice the sensations. Or we could notice breathing in and breathing out, which is adding a concept on top of it. And then soften, relax, come into direct contact with the experience. And then there's another level we can go to, which is, you may have the experience right now, I am here experiencing this. What if that I is another idea, and there simply were sensations? And then the mind wanders and has opinions and thoughts, and then we just come back to sensations. But even below the word sensations, into just life knowing itself. So this is one sense door, the sense door of the body. Let's do one more thing before we leave there. Does that which knows these sensations have a location? Is it somewhere up behind your pineal gland? Or is it really not located anywhere? It's just aware. And now, remarkably, somehow or another, inexplicably, we seem to be able to choose which of our portholes on the world we attend to. So please notice hearing, the realm of hearing. In hearing, we can make effort to try to do something, or we can relax and notice that sounds arise, including this voice. spontaneously out of nowhere. A sound is not here, and then it's here, and then it's gone. And when we're doing hearing practice, instead of attending to the breath, the sensations of breathing, we attend to hearing, and when the mind wanders off, then we come back to hearing. Now, an interesting sound just happened. Did you hear a car go by? If you'd never seen and heard a car, you would have no idea what that is. So we don't actually hear a car, we construct a car out of memory. And in bare attention, we intentionally revert or practice simply hearing. Here's another sound. Do you hear an airplane? Again, if you'd never seen and known what an airplane sounds like, it would be a strange thing. So we spent quite a bit of time this morning practicing awareness of breathing in the body, and now a little bit to hearing. What if you were to imagine your living room at home and notice how visual thoughts occur? Where do they occur? Is it true that they occur in the same place as hearing and touching, which is a kind of impossible to define truth? Or maybe think of a favorite place on the earth that you visited sometime. Notice how that image arises. Memory. And maybe some thought of the future, something you're concerned about in the future, something you worry about maybe. Maybe not your biggest worry, but just, what if this happens? And notice that this thought or image or this concoction may have some emotion attached to it. Sounds. Hearing. Sounds come out of nowhere and disappear. And then the perceptual and opinionated mind, mental formations, could have any opinion. Isn't that a beautiful sound? Children playing. Wow. Children that are safe enough they can play. What a great thing. Or, this horrible thing happened to my child recently and I can't stand the sound of children. Or, that's disturbing my meditation. All this is concocted. It's all mental formations. And let's now do one, not final, but another thing, I guess, which is to be aware in mind of the intention. A prompted intention. This voice creates the prompt, and then there's an intention that arises in mind. In the next 30 seconds or so, to begin to allow the eyes to open and notice with bare attention the phenomenon of seeing. Seeing. And notice how remarkably quickly perception turns seeing into objects. It's pretty hard to see without creating objects. I'll bring some graphite to the workday. Oh, do come to the Karma Yoga play day. It's a great way to get to know each other and to work mindfully to try to work. I remind us we do a sit at the beginning of the morning, but to work without hurry. It's so hard. We're all so focused on achieving and getting done, but to work and stop and chat for a while and then work a bit more. So I thought of doing this little practice we just did. On the way over, I bicycled this morning, and that monk's bowl that I brought up here was given to me by a man named Tangpulu Sayadaw, now long deceased, but in Rangoon. And I went there. Burma was closed pretty completely at the time, but I got a 1-week visa because the wife that I went with, her teacher was from Rangoon originally, and so we got this permit to go in for 1 week, and at the airport, we were, what do you call it, the customs people found a little rinky-dink solar-powered calculator, which was kind of a big deal. They were new. It's 50 years ago almost. And they were giving me a hard time, and all of a sudden they all went to attention. And there was a gentleman with a suit and shorts and a shirt with a tie. He was the chief of police of Rangoon, who was our host. And he was a great devotee of Tangpulu Sayadaw. So anyway, long story short, the important point for right here is that we got a tour of the city for a day, and then we went and shaved heads, and then there was a novice ordination. Almost killed me. I had to squat for about an hour and a half, and I don't squat. Two monks came up beside me and kind of held me up. It was just horrendous. But then he gave me a very interesting practice. I had been practicing for maybe a decade using mindfulness of breathing, and he gave me a very different practice which was not what I anticipated. And what he said was, all day today, practice seeing. 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 You with me? Seeing. Know that you're seeing. 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 I can't stand this. I want to do something. Seeing. Seeing. Dawn till dusk. Day number 2. Pay attention to hearing. 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 Hearing, wandering, waking up, hearing. Day number 3, posture, sitting. I'm sitting. I'm sitting already. I'm sitting, sitting. This is boring. Sitting. I'm sitting. Day number 4, from 4 in the morning till 9 at night, with occasional walking meditation as well. And then the alms round through Rangoon. Day number 4, touching. Touching's interesting, isn't it? You can be aware of your buttocks, your feet, your hands, your tongue, your clothing against the skin against the clothing. Touching. 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 Sit here for an hour, touching. Walk back and forth for an hour, walking. Sit, touching. Day number 5, seeing. Try it, right? Be aware of seeing. Seeing. Hearing. Sitting. Touching. Seeing. Takes effort. Seeing. Hearing. Sitting. Touching. Touching could be touch, 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 tongue in the mouth. Or doing this driving, it includes touch, touch. Seeing. Lost, off in the ozone, right? Past, future, emotion, liking, disliking, planning, remembering, self-hatred, ecstatic delight, waking up, oh, right, sitting, touching. Bicycling is a great place to be awake. Seeing. scanning for rocks and things, seeing. Checking the rearview mirror, seeing. Hearing, lots happening. The helmet has a lot of noise. Hearing. Bicycling. Touching. Air, touch, buttocks, touching. Seeing. This is really a great way to drive. I once had the privilege of picking up Ruth Dennison at the airport, or she picked me up, but then I drove. And for the hour and a quarter from the airport to the meditation center, she was ferocious, as she was often, as to what I should be attending to. Seeing. Checking your mirror, darling. Checking your other mirror. Seeing. Did you know before you turned on that turn signal that you were going to change lanes? Be aware. Notice, changing lanes. Hearing. And to drive like that is not only safer, but it's this practice of bare attention. It's this practice of being aware of what's happening, and profoundly, it's the practice of waking up from the trance. You notice how much of the time you're in a trance? The worry trance, or the anxiety trance, or the emotional trance. And they're very, very convincing. They're totally convincing. The mess the world is in is because of the way we take our trances seriously. Oh. Back to the class. It really is beautiful and extraordinary and wonderful that meditation leads us to experiences of bliss, joy, unitive consciousness, recognizing our true place in the universe. How wonderful. And that we can sometimes inhabit, even in difficult circumstances, states of great ease. Along with that comes being really being also a mammal and a human being, and being a creature of emotion and a creature of conditioning, and therefore being highly sensitive to what happens in us and around us, and our defensive mechanisms, pausing that, no one gets out of childhood without serious wounding. We learn to see the world in a particular way, maybe hypervigilant, or we have to act, or we can't act, or I'm not very smart, or I have to be super smart, or we have all these attitudes that are conditioned into us by the conditions of childhood, and then we bring them forward as what we call our personality, and that's a trance. There's so many of them. There's the trance. All of our prejudices are trances. Right? I've been taught that this kind of person is dangerous. Therefore, when I see this kind of person, I get tense. Or this kind of person is attractive because that's what the media told me. This kind of person, etc. Or this kind of person reminds me of my parent. Therefore, I like them or dislike them. If we're going to practice insight meditation and become free from identification with all these structures, these mental formations, then we need to learn to observe them. And that's the practice of That's true spiritual practice. That's mature practice, where we're not only capable of these really beautiful, ecstatic, super compassionate states, but we also realize that all these others are in there too, and they're also in everyone else. Reminds me, I was sent a little clipping. I was sent the whole talk by James Barras, an old colleague, friend of mine from Spirit Rock. Someone asked him a very potent question. I've responded to it in a variety of ways, but he did it so beautifully, I want to repeat it. Someone asked him, how can I relate to Donald Trump? What do we do with that in our practice? And he said, well, of course, see if I can get his order. Of course, if there's reactivity, then we notice our reactivity. If there's fear, we notice fear. If there's anger and disliking, we notice that. And we see this person through the lens that he's a human being, and not just him, anybody that we have feelings for, that he's a human being, and that any actions which are not skillful and are harmful are not a person. They are greed, hatred, and ignorance acting themselves out. And so to have compassion, here's a person, anyone that you have animosity towards, here's a person who is caught at this moment in their greed, hatred, and ignorance. And what's then this skillful response? It's compassion. Which doesn't mean then that one doesn't act skillfully and forcefully and with great vigor to intervene in some way. But the freedom in our own hearts arises from recognizing the trance that I go into and realizing, oh, I don't have to go there. I don't need to feed that. Oh, and the Buddha, this was the first thing James said, hatred never ceases through hatred. Only through love is hatred healed. Hatred never ceases through hatred. Only through love is it healed. So I thought that was a really beautiful, good guidance, that rather than filling myself with hatred and practicing fear and so on, to remember, oh yeah, right. And I guess, see if I draw this piece in. When I was in Bodh Gaya, a few months after that Burmese experience, I was with my teacher Munindra on top of a building, and there were weddings going on at a distance. And in India, they always push the speakers as far as they possibly can till they're rattling. And Munindra turned to me and said, "Are you hearing that?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Is it inside you or over there?" When you hear this voice, or when you hear a, quote, car go by, is it I'm here and that's over there? Or is it hearing? This is the teaching of no self. That when we become very attentive at this subtle level, everything is just happening. Mid-sized motorcycle, poorly tuned. What? Is that motorcycle over there? Or is it happening in here? Now, I know that can sound crazy. I know when Munindra said it to me, I thought it was... And I tried hard. I'm going to try to get it inside me. I'm here, it's over there. But through softening, where do we know these things? Where, when the mind is often wandering in trance state, when you soften, where is it? Or when you're caught in an emotion. If we soften and observe it with bare attention, then we're not trying to figure out whose fault it is or where it came from, but it's just, oh, this is the universe emoting in this way. This is the story that the universe is telling in this moment like this. Just making any sense, or is it off the wall to you? Yes? So simplifying it, mindfulness of breathing, just sitting. Just be with the sensations. when you're afterwards, when we're in having social time, when you reach for your coffee cup and you take it and you sip, can you just be with the flavor, just flavor? So I want to make time for one question or comment. If there's anybody that has one at this point, please do. Avi.
What you were saying made me think about a phenomenon of the highly sensitive person. There was even a book written about this over the last 10 years, highly sensitive people. And it is making an important point, I think, about people who are attuned to others and to things around them in a certain way that is often painful for them. And so when you talk about becoming more aware of your surroundings and being more open to them, this makes you more sensitive. But people that I know who define themselves as like empathic or highly sensitive people often talk about how hurtful this is to them, about how they feel certain experiences and feelings from people in their vicinity that in a way that it is uncomfortable for them, and they feel like they have to withdraw from it. So how does one become more open to the world without feeling overwhelmed by the pain of all of that sensation and all of the conflicting emotions and things pouring in?
Great question. And we could start with ourselves. How do we... The main reason people don't meditate is because it hurts too much. When someone comes to me and they say, I've been meditating half an hour a day or maybe an hour a day. I've been meditating and I stopped about a month ago. And then I ask, well, what happened? What's happened in that month? Well, my mother died, or I lost my job, or this happened. And so if there's this pain happening, if I were to go and sit down and not drink or smoke or watch TV or be on my phone, or if I were to stop doing those, what would happen? I would feel. And it's the last thing I want to do is feel that. So therefore I go to my coping strategies. So to meditate is to learn to bear the unbearable. That's right. This is beyond stress management. You meditate 15 or 20 minutes a day and calm your stress. Wonderful. That's not going to be prying the lid off to face that which is underneath. It's not going to be facing that free-floating anxiety that's there, or it'll soften that. But you won't be seeing the boogeymen that begin to emerge when you meditate. And that's why when people go on retreats, on a retreat, at least half to two-thirds of the people are dealing with emotional stuff, which is finally stopping long enough to look inside and see, oh, this is me. And then why do that? Well, it's how we learn to grow to be able to bear it. And the heart, we use that term, we develop the capacity to be with the discomfort of being in a human body and in a human life more and more and more. And the reality is, being a human being is really, really difficult. Why are there liquor stores on every fifth corner? Why is there a marijuana? I don't know how the marijuana shops are making it. There's so many of them. It's like, but why and the pharmaceutical shelves, when you go into the Fred Meyer's, there's feet and feet and feet of analgesics. Why? It's because we're in so much pain. Why do we binge watch our computers it's because this present moment is unbearable. This is not a popular topic, but it's true. So to meditate means to come into contact with that. And then we start noticing that the people around us are hurting like hell. And they're doing their coping mechanisms. Sometimes their coping mechanisms are difficult. And we notice that one coping mechanism that's very popular, very acceptable, is to be politically oppositional and to be, I'm going to fix the world by being political. It's a great way of avoiding the fact of how unhappy I am, and therefore I need to look at myself. I'm not saying that politics isn't a very worthy and important thing, but if we don't include this, how can we ever grow up? And it's hard. I mean, I watch in myself the ways that I avoid reality. It's tough. I'm about 80% re-addicted to my electronics. That retreat I did back in January, I was free for a while, so at ease. But now it's, what's happening? And it's true. It's just an addictive story. But how to deal with it? The Buddha spoke of the Brahma Viharas of love, compassion, sympathetic delight, taking delight in the happiness of others, and equanimity. And in equanimity, there's the realization that this is the way of the world. Dukkha, the Buddhist term, dukkha, difficulty, suffering, unsatisfactoriness, is the norm. Why else would I have another cup of coffee or a little more of something? Why else? We're doing that because there's something unsatisfying about the moment. But wisdom has us come to terms with that and realize, it's unsatisfying. Oh well, I feel fine because I'm not this, I'm that which knows what's happening. So, and then one more step with that, then people sometimes ask, well, what motivates a person to act if they're not angry? Well, compassion. When one realizes that the foe is acting as she or he does because they're hurting so much, then the motivation to help them stop hurting gets really strong. But not out of, I'm going to stop them, that wrong bastard, but out of, we're all hurting so much. Look how we're hurting ourselves and each other. And what can I do in my little way, with my little circle of influence? How can I take responsibility for the suffering in myself that I make worse by acting out? And then how can I help the people around me turn inward and comfort themselves and then act skillfully? I guess I want to say one more thing. I know the kids are here. Joanna Macy, this was years ago, she was going around the world teaching workshops in despair and empowerment. She started in Chernobyl, in the villages around Chernobyl. And then she did it all over the States, helping us realize, it was back when, well, one of the world crises, but she would go around and help and have people talk about, what are you despairing about? And the room would be filled with despair. There's global warming, and there's this, and there's that, and there's the politics. And it would all get out in the room, and we'd all realize how freaked out and despairing we are. And then there's exercises we do where we'd all lie on the floor and then play music and then stand up and realize that it is up to me to make the change. And that I've taken birth at exactly the right moment, and so has everybody else. And we've been training for this for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, and this is the lifetime when I am going to become a Shambhala warrior, and I'm going to become effective in bringing love into the world. And on the way into that, she would say things like this: face your grief. Face how much loss you've had in your life. Stop running. Face it, grieve it, get into the despair fully, and then realize it's not who you are. You're not that despair. That's a phenomenon that happens in the personality, but that's not who you are. And only by being there can we realize this terrible despair, and there's this part that is completely undespairing, which is, oh, look at that, that's despair. Right. And then, and this is the punchline of it, which is, do your despair and grieving work, because otherwise, when the going gets rough, you'll turn on your loved ones. Right? When couples lose a child, more than 85% of those couples divorce because we don't know how to grieve effectively and connect. And that's a huge example, a big loss of a child. But we're all losing each other a lot because we haven't done our deep grieving work. We haven't penetrated deeply into the parts of ourselves that are going, I feel so terrible, or I'm freaking out, or I hate myself, and that's the stuff of deep meditative inquiry, which is putting in a plug for my class. That's the work. It's a complicated advertisement, wasn't it? He'll go to any lengths to market his class. Oh dear. So, and the more we can face our shadow stuff, then the more we find life very funny and worth living, because it's the whole package. Wow, kind of a rant. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, dear friends out on the net. I so wish I could see through that camera and see you all. Though you're probably in your pajamas, so better not. So, time to bring in the kids. Thank you all. Please come and make a big circle, and let's come and have some tea and coffee and goodies. I could add a little bit to something Avi said in terms of the Dharma Consults. If you call Avi and say you'd like to meet with someone somehow, he will put it out to the teachers group, and we'll get one of the teachers to respond to it, or you can ask for a particular person. Like if you want to meet with me, you can come and meet with me here in my office. And I have an office. When you go out the kitchen, look to the right, there's a door with it's got a great, there's a Hanuman, there's a monkey picture, not a monkey, an elephant picture on the door. A 3D elephant picture. Hi. Well, did you guys have fun? Yep. It's raucous in there sometimes in that room. You get down. Well, may I hold your hand? A pinky, maybe? Let's do a pinky. No, a hand. All right. Hand, pinky. Good. Thanks. Okay. So, a hand, one of a kind ever in the universe. A manifestation of the universe as this person for a few eye blinks. Why not wish the person on your right well? What would be your most generous wish? Mine is almost always, I hope you wake up to your true nature right now. And then the person on your left, giving that hand a little squeeze. Contact. I guess a fun thing to do here, I like to do sometimes, is to realize, do I feel their hand? Actually not. I feel the impact that their hand has on mine. Electromagnetic fields resisting each other, producing sensation. So wishing this person on your left well, and through them to the next person and the next person, until you're connected with every single human being on earth. And we can think of this as metaphorical, or actually the facts that we actually are every single person on the earth. And the earth itself, and in fact the vast cosmos, is our true home. So, do we have a singer or two? You're the ones? Alrighty. we're good to go. Locked and loaded. There you go.
May all beings be happy. May
All beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. That was gorgeous. Well, and now, do you think we can blow out the candle successfully? Everyone in the room gets to participate with a giant in-breath. 1, 2, 3, blow. Yes! Success! Yay! Yay! Thank you all for coming, and enjoy driving home, seeing, hearing, sitting, touching. Seeing, hearing, sitting, touching. Did I not have this on? Was it?
Turn it off at some point.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't